So, yeah, I'm thoroughly pissed off today, not at Trump. Trump is a fucking lump of nothing. He's a son of a bitch who's now going to crucify this country. But what I'm really pissed off at, obviously, are the people who made this happen. Anybody who voted for Trump, God damn you to hell. Just God damn you to hell for doing that. After all the evidence was, what the fuck did it take? You had everyone in his first administration, with the exception of the Nazi Jews and the Nazi Christians around him, but everyone's saying, this man is a fascist. Don't vote for him. He is not qualified to run. And then you have 6 members of the Supreme Court tell the American people, well, for the first time in our history, we've made a decision that there's one person in this country above the law, and that is Lord God, fuck Jesus Christ, Donald Trump. And then, of course, we have the Christian evangelicals, you wailing, whining bastards who congregate in your shithole churches and raise your arms up and shake your hands and talk in tongues and sing your goddamn hymns. You people who claim to be Christians, and you voted for this miserable fucker. And then Trump had the absolute audacity, thanks to you people, thanks to you Christians, the audacity to say that he won the presidency because of divine intervention. That God, fuck God, Jesus Christ, Donald Trump, Lord, Master, Boss up in the heaven, saved his life by making sure the bullet only nicked his ear. Donald Trump now has the absolute, well, I can't think of another word, audacity, to tell the world now that Jesus Christ, God, saved his life because he has to lead the American people out of the wilderness. And this is what you Christian evangelicals believe. Well, you've gotten your victory. And you Christian mouth breathers will probably be well served over the next 4 years or however long until this fucker dies and rots. And whatever he leaves behind to continue this horror that Christian evangelicals finally, after 40 plus years of struggling to do their part to destroy this constitutional republic, you son of a bitches finally accomplished it, didn't you? Huh? You finally accomplished it. Well, I don't know how else to put it. There's no other way for me to put it. I think I'm making it very clear how I feel about this. Now, as far as I heard somebody talking on MSNBC today about reconstituting the Democratic Party, that the Democratic Party is dead now. You're fucking right, it's dead. It's got a stake so deep in its heart, it's never going to recover. Just like the Republican Party was absolutely destroyed. The Republican Party was a walking mass of maggots. I mean, the little squirmy, little wormy things until Trump and his maggots, the ones with the red hats, took over. So now we have Trumpism. There is no Republican Party. Trumpism. What's going to happen with the Democratic Party? It is dead. It is rotting. It is now rotting. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any of this reconstruction. We have to rethink. We have to regroup. We have to have a postmortem. Fuck all that. The Democratic Party was supposed to be a left-wing party of the people. And when you trot Liz Cheney and all these Republicans on stage to tout your candidacy in your party, what you are doing is carefully putting the barrel of a .45 in your mouth, and then Donald Trump pulls the trigger. There is no Democratic Party. Not in the House, not in the Senate, not on the Supreme Court, not in the executive branch. The Democratic Party is dead. Over. Now, what's going to replace it? My quick estimate, nothing. Because once fascism gets a stranglehold on a society. It doesn't let go until there is a cataclysmic, apocalyptic ending. Think Berlin, 1945. Think Hiroshima, 1945. Think Stalingrad, 1944. Just think about these places. This is what this country is heading toward now. We've crossed the threshold into fascism. We are now a fascist country run by, come January 20th, if he's still around, a dictator who has made it very clear and explicit what he's going to do. One thing you might want to consider is, just for shits and giggles, because for so many Americans, the majority of Americans in this country, it doesn't matter anymore. They don't give a fuck. But consider how many people are going to die as Trump consolidates his strongman approach to fascism in this country. I mean, can you do that? Or you don't give a shit? I mean, you evangelical Christians, you certainly don't give a shit because you know that your Lord God, Jesus, Donald Trump, is waiting for you up in heaven. You crazy fuckers. Okay, I am back. And yes, I'm still probably more infuriated than I've ever been when I've been sitting behind a microphone. And I understand if you decided after the first part of the podcast that you'd heard enough. Of course, if that was the case, you wouldn't be hearing what I'm saying now. But seriously, I've been an American all my life. I've been a white male all my life. I've been a liberal or a progressive or a Democrat, the way Democrats used to be, all my life. And to see what happened as it happened yesterday to my country and why it happened to my country and how it happened to my country has left me more enraged and furious than I've ever been. Probably about anything. That's part of what I did last night. I sat there in my rage, trying to remember a time in my life when I might have felt more enraged. Oh, I felt sadder before. I felt happier. I felt depressed. I felt stressed. I felt anxious. I felt glorious. I felt wonderful. I felt exultant. I mean, the whole range, just like you. Right? You know, you can go down the list about the different times in your life when you felt these powerful emotions. But as I sat there trying to remember a time when I was more angry doesn't get it, enraged, furious, I couldn't come up with anything other than what happened yesterday and who made it happen. And the ones who made it happen were not the fucking Russians, not the fucking Iranians or the Chinese or any of this other happy horse shit. It was every single goddamn American in this country who knew what they were voting for and did it deliberately. Before I get too twisted up here, let me mention Jason McCormick again, who is my sponsor tonight. And by luck of the draw, when Jason registered to sponsor the show on November 6th, he did so days ago. It might have been a week or so ago, having no idea that he would be sponsoring a podcast that had as its commentator me, somebody who was just so fucking angry he couldn't put together 8 words without saying fuck. Anyway, this is Jason's message. Dear Malloy, thanks for 20 plus years of truth and entertainment. The community that follows this program has gotten me through some hard times in America. It's about time I repaid you and them and us for all the times I wasn't left howling alone in my apartment. This machine kills fascists. Keep up the good work and thank you. Well, thank you, Jason, very much. Now, I might before I get back into the fact that America hired a strongman dictator yesterday, let me mention about sponsoring this podcast. I had a moment last night also where I was considering just throwing in the towel after 40 years of this business in one form or another. Well, it was print, television, radio, podcast, talk show, whatever. I sat on the couch last night watching MSNBC with the sound down because I couldn't stand to hear anymore. With a shot, and I don't drink, a shot of Jack Daniels, maybe once a week. And I sat there and thought, what is the point, Malloy, in continuing to do your podcast? What's the point? What do you hope to accomplish? Well, I don't really, I can't answer it. I know my limitations. When Air America was put together all those years ago, it was put together, one of the reasons was to defeat George Bush and get Barack Obama elected. And it worked. But Air America was a vast enterprise that included some really talented people that I had the privilege, the absolute privilege to work with. Like Rachel Maddow. That's where Rachel Maddow came from, Air America. But as far as this little old podcast, from here in the foothills of the North Georgia mountains, I had to sit there last night and try to come up with a reason to continue. And then, of course, as it has happened to me in so many different circumstances in my life, when I'm trying to find a reason to continue something, I know this has happened to you too. I'm just venting, okay? This podcast shouldn't be about me, although in so many instances it is, because you hear the rage and the anger and the frustration and the fear that comes erupting out of your humble and obedient servant here in the foothills of the North Georgia mountains. But my ending thought after working, going through all that shit, why do you want to continue, Malloy? What the fuck's the point? It occurred to me, nothing profound, just this. Over the course of my life, and a lot of people say this, and sometimes when I hear it said, I'd think, oh, okay, yawn. But for me, this is true, as it is, I'm sure, for you. I don't like having my ass kicked and being told, now, you've had your ass kicked, get the fuck out of the neighborhood. Oh, whoa, wait a minute. Wait a goddamn minute. You may have kicked my ass, but now you're telling me to get out of my neighborhood? You're out of your fucking mind. So that's the attitude that I have right now. This Nazi son of a bitch and the millions of people, 75 million people who decided to destroy America, all I can say to him and to that group of people, as big as it is, fuck you. There's some of us who are not going to give up. We are not going to move out of the neighborhood now that you've kicked our ass. So, I don't know, call it what you want. Irish, Italian, Defiance, I don't know. But I'm not going anywhere.
Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.